This is
All right,
uncomfortable, but yeah.
welcome everyone to our story writing workshop. This is a special workshop because it's our first time we're collaborating with another McEwen club, the Bolo Writing Collective right there.
Yep. Hello.
So, first I'm going to start with why are games important? I mean, why is story important in games? Now some of you, Kyle, might say the story isn't that important to a game. Well, that is wrong. And so here's why. Well, first of all, the story captivates and immerses the player in the game world. It gives meaning to mechanics. So, for example, like Spider-Man. Swinging through New York is fun. It's a great, unique mechanic. But there are some other games with swinging mechanics too. Then those games aren't as successful. So what makes Spider-Man different? It's the fact that you are Spider-Man. You're not just a random person swinging in a platformer. You are the spectacular Spider-Man swinging through New York City. So the mechanics just tell you what to do to reach a goal. But the story tells you why you're actually doing it, and the why is what's powerful. And then it also provides motivation and emotional investment. So for example, The Last of Us. There's hundreds and hundreds of games where you shoot zombies. So what makes Last of Us special? It's Joel's and Ellie's story. At the beginning, Joel is a broken man, he's emotionally closed off. Ellie is a sarcastic, resilient kid who slowly starts to break down his walls. So over time, their relationship evolves from obligation to partnership and family. So when I'm playing it, I'm not thinking, wow, nice headshot. I can get that in any shooting game. No, in Last of Us specifically, I'm thinking, are they going to survive? Is Ellie immune? Is Joel going to lose another daughter? The gameplay becomes heavier because of all that weight. And then another example is God of War 2018. Atreus, he's an annoying little brat. He keeps getting in your way, he keeps messing up and arguing with you. But I guess he's my son, you know, I had a bad dad, I'm trying to break that generational trauma. So I care about him. I'm not just fighting a troll, I'm actually trying to protect my child, I'm trying to teach him. So that's why I'm playing the game. And then finally, retention and replayability. Again, with Last of Us, there's a bunch of shooter games. Why are you playing Last of Us? You actually want to see the whole story from start to finish. And then Assassin's Creed Odyssey, one of my favorite games. Mechanically, it's just a nice polished AAA game, combat, stealth, loot, solid basic mechanics. So what makes this special is that you get to play in ancient Greece. You're immersed in ancient Greece. You can explore ancient Greece. You're not just pressing buttons and fighting random people. You're actually choosing dialogue, making consequences, deciding who lives and who dies. You can decide to side with Sparta or with Athens. Explore the Aegean Sea. And then you keep replaying it because you want to know what happens if you choose a different option. What happens if I spare this character? Can I reconnect with my dad, save Alexios, all of that. And so then that brings me to my next slide. What's the biggest difference between stories in games versus other traditional forms like books and movies? So the branching storylines. Most modern games have a branching storyline. You shape the experience. How many times have you watched a movie and thought, that was a stupid decision, I would never do that? So when you play a game, you can actually test that out. The games give players the freedom to actually live the story themselves. You're not just watching someone else save the princess, you're actually doing that. You're the one killing the zombies. You can choose if you want to side with the villain or make a good choice. You make the stupid decisions and then you can reload the save and then try and get another pack. So do whatever you want, explore the whole world, kill everyone, be a pacifist, romance everyone inside, be a cold-hearted loner, whatever you want. You don't just watch the story unfold, you actually participate in it. And that's what makes games a uniquely powerful storytelling medium. But all of the examples I just used, those are probably just from those two genres right there, adventure and RPG. You might ask, what about the rest of them? Not all games have a story. And yeah, that's true, but it depends on what's your definition of a game narrative. So most of you are probably thinking in the traditional sense, a game narrative is specifically the plot and the characters, and then that leads you to cutscenes. But the game narrative also includes the context, the scripted events, interactive elements, all of that falls within the narrative. So for example, sports games like FIFA, there's a bunch of football games. What makes FIFA special? It's the narrative and the story. You are a football player in one of those football clubs. You can play as one of your favorite football players, competing against other teams for trophies, ranks, or just pride. And then Rocket League, it has a narrative, and the narrative is you're a car in an arena trying to win matches. And then we also have arcade games, those also have narratives. So for example, Centipede, it's the scripted events. So like when you shoot the centipedes, they split up, the spiders and the mushrooms, all those things, when they randomly show up, that's all part of the narrative. Space Invaders, there's an actual story in the background that's you're trying to save your world from annihilation, but then the narrative also includes like the formations of the spaceships and the dive patterns and all that stuff. Pac-Man, collect berries, then each of them gives you different powers. You can go faster, eat the ghosts, get points. Candy Crush, it actually does, I googled this just yesterday. Candy Crush has a story apparently. You play as Tiffy and Mr. Toffee, exploring the Candy Kingdom to restore color and joy and the Witch Petzilla. So yeah, story's not that important sometimes, probably no one remembers Candy Crush. But there's still part of the narrative that you do remember, so that's why would you play Candy Crush instead of something like Bejeweled? Because you like the candies. You want to match all the candies together. It's not just random shapes that you're matching, it's the candies that caused in chain reactions and all of that stuff. And then finally Tetris. This was actually Victoria's idea. Tetris doesn't have a story, some might say, but Victoria gave me this document that said the story is actually the progression of the blocks, like the steady increasing speed and points and the players controlling how the blocks land. That all makes up the narrative. So, takeaway from my thing is, every game has some kind of narrative element in it. It doesn't have to be a grand, fully fleshed out plot that will make your English teacher cry. There can be like some minor, small context and interactions. You might not even be actively thinking about it, but there's some kind of narrative that's happening. But for the purpose of the rest of this workshop, we're going to focus on the story and plot. Specifically, since we're video games, RPGs with branching storylines and multiple endings. And so now, I invite Elliot from the Bolo Collective to talk about that.
Alright. As mentioned, hello, my name is Elliot. Pronouns are he, they. I'm an English major, creative writing minor, and I am a current editor, past author, involved in one of the many openings Bolo Collective anthologies.
Switch.
Okay. I was very excited to be invited back to you to talk about this. So, confession time, I'm not a huge I don't play a lot of video games. Thankfully he does. But I do play a lot of D&D, I play a lot of RPGs. I have been playing tabletop RPGs since pre-pandemic. So, and like I mentioned, I'm a creative writer and illustrator, so I do spend a lot of time around story time. Don't worry about this yet. We'll get to this. For now, I will turn it over to Hamm about sort of history of interactive narratives, which is what video games are. They're interactive narratives.
Fine segue. Thank you, Elliot. All right. So before I begin, a little bit about me. My name's Shawn. I teach on the English side. Actually founded the Bolo Collective many, 10 years ago now?
Oh my god. I think longer than that.
That's right, 11
Yeah.
Okay.
We just did volume 8.
No, volume 9 wasn't it?
Yeah.
But we started a year ahead of time. We can talk about that. Okay. A rich storied history. So before I begin, really quick question. I think it was for Kyle.
Right, so
And I actually very much agree with you. But you said that the story doesn't matter in a video game.
I would say it's not a necessity. That was my argument.
There's nuance to that.
Yeah. I feel like there's a difference between a narrative and a story. I could get into it, but I don't want to.
No.
Up too much.
Absolutely. And so what about sorry?
I think we'll probably end up getting there a little bit.
I think so. This actually kind of riffing on a conversation we had earlier today, was that even if a game doesn't have a story embedded within it, by the time you're done playing, you still end with a story. And the one that I kind of think of was I was watching a YouTube clip of someone doing a time attack of Tetris. Tetris has no story, or it's some confusing rendition of Russia that I don't understand with its music and its background. But by the end, you will have the beats where I almost died and then I saved it. And if you watch this guy do his time attack, by the time it's over, so long as it's recorded, you do have a story. But that's the same into sports writing, right? Any match between teams, doesn't matter about the story of the individual character, or if you're playing FIFA and you're the manager, yes, there's a narrative within that, but just the fact of watching something compete, and in the ups and the downs, by the end, you have an emotional response to a dynamic story. But now we're getting into what defines a story. So for me,
Different workshop.
Sorry?
That's a different workshop.
that's a very different workshop. So what I want to talk to you guys mostly about is kind of the history of interactive narratives. And that's going to kind of lead into talking about the transition from video games and into creative writing games. But all of them share the same DNA. So I'm going to go way back to the first Choose Your Own Adventure book that I could find when I was taking my class. And for that, we go back to 9th century BCE China. Has anyone ever heard of the I Ching before? You know what that is? No?
I had it till today.
Excellent. So this was actually technically you can think of it as a sort of metafiction. And all it is a list of 64 different paragraphs that tell you your fortune. But to do it, you need to use, well, they actually use these bamboo reeds. We don't have anything like that. But you can flip a coin. If you flip it 3 times, depending on the permutation that you get, 3 heads or 3 tails, or 2 heads and a tail, you'll get 2 lines or a single line. You go through it, and you figure this out, and you'll end up what they call with these trigrams. So it's actually 3 layers on top of 3 others, and they all stand for elements. You can have thunder over earth, water over fire. But whatever that combination is, you take it, you look at the paragraphs in the scroll, and that'll just give you some sort of pithy piece of information about, I don't know what to expect. It's kind of like a fortune cookie, advanced, right? But in the end, it is dictating your own personal story. That's the metafiction portion. Okay, we're going to jump ahead to the 1930s. Do we have any Choose Your Own Adventure fans? Did anyone read any? They come and go out of pop culture. A little bit. So, might be surprising, but the very first Choose Your Own Adventure book was actually in the 1930s, called Consider the Consequences. Written by a feminist and suffragette, but we're not quite at the level that is going to take us into video games. This was about opening a book, and you'd pick 1 of 3 characters, and then you would make decisions for that character, which actually is oddly how usually video games do work. So you would actually just pick their love stories, who they fall in love with. I tried this with my class, and they ended up making the worst decisions possible. It ended up with a man who sold his family store, got into a loveless marriage, had a son, but then absconded his wife to Europe to live out her days in a sanatorium. So I chided them on that. They didn't know. But before that, right, we didn't really have anything. Eventually we get this book called Hopscotch. This comes up in the 60s. A guy named Julio Cortázar writes an avant-garde novel that's about 155 chapters that you can read completely out of order. Not only does that sound tedious, I don't think it works that well. You had a prescribed order as well. Start off in chapter 77, then go to chapter 1, then go to chapter 3, or don't. So, avant-garde though it was, not the most exciting Choose Your Own Adventure. So eventually, we get to the 70s. And this is the story and the rise of fame of what we know as the Choose Your Own Adventure Company. And these guys started off with Edward Packard, and then a dubious character who's got most of the credit. His name's R.A. Montgomery.
There is no test. You don't need
There
to
is
do
not a
this.
test. But this will start linking into kind of the let's say Baldur's Gate, or anything that gets into branching narratives, from choices, branching dialogue. It all has the same DNA and comes from the same ancestry, so to speak. So one of the elements came from this guy trying to tell stories to his daughter at night. And he was just making them up. And then she would get involved and be like, hey, then what happens? And then what happens? And he's like, okay, tell you. So you guys have no little kids? That's what they do. But then the kids started asking, well, like, oh, what if this happened? Oh, what if that happened? And he decided, you know what? I'm just going to make the changes for whatever my child decides. So he gets this idea, decides to write a book called Sugarcane Island. But the idea was to try and show moral consequences. So it made sense. All within the universe, what are the things that branch out after you've made a decision? He gets so successful, he introduces himself to this guy, R.A. Montgomery. This guy publishes it for him. R.A. Montgomery decides, ooh, I like this idea. And he gets most of the credit. So you guys look into Choose Your Own Adventure books. I have one right here. Forecast to Stonehenge. Very exciting. Just had my notes in it. I didn't bring it here to show you, but this is a Choose Your Own Adventure book. His idea was about the roller coaster. Didn't matter if it was necessarily going to make sense. Didn't matter if it was about moral. It was just wild, different changes.
So kind of tying to your thing of a narrative doesn't necessarily need to be entirely necessary to this kind of engagement.
Yeah.
I might add, if it's just wild endings.
And what we start to find here, this is something that's been way more codified within video game development, which you guys probably know more about than me, is that when you make a choice as a character in a video game, it has to be organic, it has to make some kind of sense, either to your character or to what's possible in the game. That is what Edward Packard was interested in. So you got to think of it as branching timelines. If I could go back and make that decision differently, I would get to explore this side of that world. That's not where R.A. Montgomery comes in. He's more like branching dimensions. By making a different choice, your backstory changes. So whereas I wanted to go into the house and explore, and that would take me into maybe a ghost story, I decide not to do that. I want to go to the cemetery. But all of a sudden now it turns out that my great-grandfather's a werewolf. Or in the other one, it turns out that my great-grandfather was a monkey. I don't know. But all of a sudden your backstory has no relevancy to it. And this is the issue with some Choose Your Own Adventure books. Some of us read it because we want to just go along for the ride, so that's why I play video games. Some of us are interested in what different choices. So I don't know if you guys ever did this, but what I would do is I would open up a book, and I'd usually use 2 bookmarks, or I just keep my fingers in the pages. Those are my save points. Because I was like, oh, I died. I'm just going to go back to my last decision. And that is where we start getting into RPGs. But we can't get into RPGs without talking about first D&D. Right? So this is kind of
Before we
a
do
fun...
that, just a quick show of hands, because I'm interested.
Okay.
How many of you are here from Game Devs? And how many of you are here from Bolo? Hands up for Game Devs. Hi! I'm meeting a whole bunch of y'all for the first time.
Right.
And some of y'all for not the first time. How many of y'all are here from Bolo? Okay, cool. Very true. Cool. I was super interested. That's all. Continue on.
Okay. I'm going to draw out here is that Choose Your Own Adventure books are not the first to attempt branching narratives. There's actually an experimental film. It was a Czechoslovakian movie that they played for 1964 Montreal World's Fair. And the whole idea was they made this special theater, and everyone got to vote on what happened in the next scene. So there was always going to be a scene A and a scene B. Interesting enough, no matter what happens, it would end with your house burning down. Now, you are just following along with the main character. How you get here is inescapable. That is still going to be where the story culminates. But you get to make a choice how you got there, and it's a binary option, so you're only ever going to get these 2, or whatever permutation between. And there's about 4 scenes throughout the film. Ran for 40 minutes, and it was a huge hit. It still goes on and travels today. It's called Kino Automat. Try looking it up, and it's impossible. There's some bizarre trailers. It's still pretty fun. Okay. So in the end, if we start thinking about this as being set scenes that you will always build to when you make another choice, this kind of becomes a reflection of what cutscenes are in a video game. So something like, I'm jumping ahead, Last of Us. Well, what makes Last of Us unique as far as a story experience?
This is a big question. We talked about this a bit. I'm actually really glad that you brought up The Last of Us, particularly the emotional investment with regards to Joel and Ellie. Because that is what we're there for The Last of Us. We're not here to just keep shooting zombies, we're here to see what happens to those 2. And the thing with The Last of Us is it's the same as the A/B narrative. As much as it is you have a certain amount of agency, you have a certain amount of choice in The Last of Us. I think we called it Choose Your Own Weapon. As to how you might go through that narrative. The narrative is always the same. The ending will always be the same. Spoilers for The Last of Us, but y'all have had enough to play it. Ellie will always be saved by Joel. There's no version of the first Last of Us where Ellie dies. You never get to have that choice to leave her behind. You always have the choice of how to get there, and you always will have to save her. So that's sort of a very straightforward, linear narrative. Even if it branches off, it's like, oh, you might go into this house first, or you might get this piece of information first before the other one. You don't necessarily get a choice in where you'll end up. However,
Sorry, I'm making mine a little straight.
all good, okay. So from that, the two of us, when we were talking about this, came up with something we kind of call the risk agency ratio. I am an English major, not a math major. That might not be the correct metaphor. We'll find out. But essentially the idea was the more agency you have in a video game or RPG, the higher risk there is. Because my sort of go-to example is Detroit Become Human. Who here has played Detroit Become Human? That, incredible. Who here is at least aware of it? Okay, excellent. For those of you who don't know, it's been a while since I've actually watched the playthrough. Very quick summary. There is, oh, it's so much more relevant now. It's so much more relevant now. Okay. Anyway, there are 3 characters that you can play that you do play as throughout the game, and there are multiple choices you can make for each of those characters throughout the game. And all 3 of those characters, with their multiple endings, have at least 2 permadeaths in their story. So you have the most amount of agency, or at least, potentially 3 options of, here you can make this choice, you can make this choice, you can make this choice per scene, and it will dictate a different branching off point. And some of those choices can result in death. So even though you have higher agency, you have that higher risk of death. And with D&D and RPGs, you have all the agency except for the dice.
Right.
So that, the dice, the literal manifestation of a gamble, is the highest risk and the least amount of agency. And so again, the metaphor may not be perfect, but yeah, there's that sort of, you have the highest amount of agency and the highest amount of risk. And for anyone who's played D&D, y'all know death is always an option, and you avoid it as much as you can. Even the DM does not always have the agency of whether or not you're going to do this. Technically, this is supposed to be about how do you write these games. I don't know how to write these games, but I do know that for me, the thing that I do want out of a game is that emotional investment you already talked about, and I want some agency.
Well, I think that's also what kind of makes video games worth playing as well, right? Trying to have
You are part of the story.
yeah, unique experience. So, but most of us played Last of Us, I want to say. So that's a good example in terms of what the gameplay is inspiring with the story, right? So me, I like the bow and arrow. That was what I would play. If I broke an arrow, since they were so hard to find, I would replay that. That was my journey. That was my experience. Didn't change the story though. How I attacked the level. If I wanted to hit a guy with a brick and then hit him with a 2x4, save some ammo, excellent. But the harder the difficulty level, the less options I had, and the more my gameplay was dictated. So you start losing that agency, and you're forced to play a certain way. But it didn't matter whether I was playing on easy or what's the hard, rounded plus, whatever they call it these days. The cutscenes are fixed points in time. The story will not change. What I do between those scenes, that does change. That's the interactive part. But the narrative itself, finite. And this becomes interesting within video games. We don't actually want to play an infinite video game. That's life, okay? So you gotta use that. You just make your choices as you wish.
Does anyone here know about RimWorld?
Ooh.
RimWorld?
RimWorld.
RimWorld. Yeah. Can you give a synopsis of what RimWorld is? Does anyone want to?
Take a stab at it?
Who's the biggest fan of RimWorld?
It might be you.
It is not. I do not like RimWorld because it's too big. I find it too unwieldy. There's too many options. It is a unique experience every time, hands down. But every time I've tried to get into it, I just find it to be too unwieldy. But people that love it, like there's no middle ground. When you play it, you're going to repeat it, and it's because you will not have that exact same experience. You can have a similar experience, but all of a sudden you're attacked by these guys. Now one of your members is a cannibal, and they fell in love with the one-armed dude that survived the cannibals. And now the doctor, for some reason, is visiting this grave. There's so many random mechanics. That makes it a unique experience, and I can see the escapism in it. But it's too big for me.
Because there's a lack of fixed points.
Yes.
Fixed points. So like this is a nice big branching one here. There are only 2 fixed points here. There's only 2. Here's the beginning. This is a bad marker. Right, that's one. And then the first branching off point. There are only 2 fixed points. These are the only things that no matter how many times you play this game, you can always trust this is what will happen. More or less. Fixed points are your stability. Is there anything else we want to tell? Or is that kind of
I'll just explain Clue the movie and why that's
Please,
relevant.
please go to Clue.
And And then we're going to build towards the pattern of the mushroom glass. Okay.
You'll
Yes.
get there.
Okay, so all this is a way to plot a narrative. What I have here would generally represent Last of Us or even God of War to a degree. You play it your own way, but you're still hitting those certain beats, and you know you've progressed because you got a cutscene. Fixed points in time. Everything that happens between can happen differently, but the story, the narrative part, finite. We get an interesting inversion of this with Clue the movie. Who has seen Clue the movie? Yeah? What makes it interesting versus other movies?
Different endings,
Yes, how many? 3.
depending on where you saw it.
That's exactly it. Here's the weird thing though. So when they actually put this movie out to theaters, about 1985, and it riffs on the idea of the game, but it also breaks all the conventions because there's no actual way to predict who the murderer is, because all the clues are so kind of ambiguous that they can have multiple endings. And there is one that's the true ending, but it wasn't the true ending when they released it in theaters. They actually randomly gave different theaters an A, B, or C, and it had nothing to do with demographics, had nothing to do with logistics. They just randomly handed them out, and it wasn't until it came out on VHS that they had to put them in some kind of order, and the last one in the order they decided was the definitive, and that's the one where I think you find out that like everyone killed someone to some degree.
Nice.
That's a cheat, to me.
I agree.
Yeah, it's following the R.A. Montgomery style, where it doesn't matter, this choice results in bizarre new possibilities, it's a different dimension, it's not a branching timeline.
That changes your beginning as well as your ending.
It does, and to me, that becomes a problematic experience. But so in Clue the movie, we get ABC. Now there was another sort of attempt to bring in this storytelling, or what we see way more successfully in video games, through a movie called Bandersnatch that was on Netflix. Very briefly, 2018. Some nodding, we know what Bandersnatch was? So through Netflix, they created a Choose Your Own Adventure television episode. It was like a long-form version of Black Mirror.
I was gonna say that, but
Yeah, but it's been removed now, so there's no way to watch it with the options. There's like a YouTube one I found, but you're just watching it finite. So it ruins the
it's
entire
kind of the
experience.
same thing as when they released Clip.
Exactly, it doesn't work. But when
This
it
is what
did,
it's been for like the last couple weeks, is just us ripping on each
taxing about the video games.
other. Yeah.
What we really get with the biggest success is the Choose Your Own Adventure, branching timelines, and branching dialogue, different choices. This becomes the bedrock of most video games. So Nathan, what you had up for the branching choices, what game was that?
Human becoming Detroit. I mean, Detroit becoming human.
Perfect, right?
Humans become Detroit.
But they did it. Nathan, how many endings are possible in that game?
Oh, I have no idea.
It was
It's
someone else. 85 was I think what we found when I looked it up. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a lot. Because yeah, think about it. There are 3 different characters, all who each have like their own choices per scene. Like 3 choices per scene for each character, and there's 3 characters, so they have like
Yeah,
it's
this
that
is on
many.
a rise. Boom.
There's one of them that has like 13, I think. I think it's Connor.
I'm going to give you guys a fancy term. I could give you a bunch, but that's not why we're here. This is actually what we're exploring in what we call diegetics. When something's happening from within a story, but then if you get really fancy, there's meta-diegetic, which is technically the I Ching. You've got homo-diegetic. That's actually where a character is telling you a story, but that's because they experienced it. It's like an old man in the story, but recounting to you. But then we also have intradiegetic, and that's when you're experiencing a story within a story. So that gets very confusing very quickly, as I learned from my class. But one of the things that we can think about is a core term called pullulation. Has anyone ever heard of pullulation? It's the growing or expanding of a living thing. That's where the original term came from. But that is what we can start describing any branching narrative or expansive sort of dialogue within a video game. And it's all the possibilities that have to grow from a single start point. And that is what these are all going to share in common. Are they all successful?
Not always.
No, varying degrees.
It really depends.
Do we have any Red Dead Redemption fans? Good. Correct answers. Yes. The thing that's fascinating about Red Dead Redemption is that you can go about it and play however you like, but you still have to hit certain beats. So it's the same thing, I suppose, with Grand Theft Auto or any sandbox games. But, spoiler, Red Dead Redemption 2. It doesn't matter what you do, you're going to have to say goodbye to your horse at the end and die of tuberculosis. So that's more like different branches gone awry. If I just drew a bunch of scattered sticks, but then a picture of a dead horse, that's my fixed point. It's unavoidable if you want to finish the game. And this, yeah.
Kind of like that.
Sure, yeah, I like that.
It's red.
That's cool. It's kind of like some. Why
No.
not? I'm sorry. It was a very fine illustration. Okay.
Thanks.
Idea being, though, the experience in the gameplay, that becomes personal. That's why we start to adapt and relate to something. And for me, I just like the escapism of pretending I'm a cowboy. That's why I like Red Dead Redemption. But the ending bothers me because I really got attached to that character. I really felt like I was playing as Arthur Morgan. I didn't feel like I was Arthur Morgan, but I was along with him on the ride.
You had that emotional investment.
Yeah, and this is just going to kind of dovetail a couple of things. The reason D&D became so popular, or one of the core reasons, was that you moved from the idea of something like Choose Your Adventure, which pioneered the second person. When you read a Choose Your Adventure, it's you that's the main character. But the choices are finite. You only have as many things. But you're interacting every time you change the page or you make a choice. But when we get into D&D, that wasn't just about you playing, that was about you choosing your character. Choosing what kind of gender you want to be, or what kind of species you want to be, or anything in between. I know it's gotten problematic in later years, because I know that they're looking at cultural adaptations, what have you, but the spirit of the thing is there, and it's about to try and be the version of you that you always wanted to be, or a version that you just think would be fun.
It's the ultimate emotional investment. You create everything. You are the fixed point for that character creation.
I'm not a D&D guy, but I've recently got involved, and mostly that's because of my love of video games. And my character's name is Stone Tooth Longpants, known for his biting power and fashionably long pants. That's it. Is it because I always dreamed to be someone with a strong biting force and regular pants? No, I thought it'd be silly. But it is that investment and that ability and the option to create, but not infinitely. That becomes something that seems to be core to video games. Maybe you guys have a much more theory-based idea about that, but it seems like we need to trust the developer, we need to trust the writer, because their options are infinite. They can do anything they want when they're programming, when they're writing a thing, but at the end of the day, the reader or the gamer, our options have to be finite. It can be
You have limited agency.
limited agency. It could be, what is it, Detroit Become Human, right? That needs to cap out at some point. So at 85, that's a lot, but that feels expansive. I feel like almost anything I do is going to give a unique story. But we need to have a set amount, or else there's almost no point in playing it because it will never actually. How do you have a theme if everything is possible? That's why I always relate to be like, well, if you want a game like that, go live your life. That's where everything's possible.
Fixed points set up a narrative expectation.
Yeah. So, brief segue. This is kind of our standard setup for different branching narratives. This has become our core standard. Thank you, Choose Your Own Adventure. But something that's more interactive, like say, For the Queen, becomes a much more expansive and nearly infinite, because it almost is a Rorschach test of any person playing it. And the fun thing is you can play with someone who has no idea how to write a story, but you'll learn about them, and they will engage and come up with things that they never thought were possible. So how would we draw that out, Elliot?
Well, thank you for asking. As stated, this is For the Queen. And talking about those fixed points, there are 2 fixed points in this game, and we will get into that in a moment. But I will tell you this right now, neither of them are the beginning or the ending. So, you have this point of action, and this point of action. And so you have infinite possibilities that can come in to begin this.
Would this be all the different
That's
players?
informing it? No, this is just potential narratives.
Okay.
Because For the Queen is a question-based game. This happens, and then this happens, and you have infinite possibilities of things that can happen. And so the way we ended up talking about this, when we were planning this, is the sort of temporal mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
Because in the past and in the future of your narrative in this game, it explodes into the past and in the future.
Or like an inverted one, if you want to think about it that way.
So rather than just explaining it to you, who wants to play some games?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, of course you do.
Okay,
Yeah.
incredible. I'm going to do some quick math and see how many of you there are. Is there anyone who does not want to play?
That's right.
That is a great answer to have. Okay.
We're all gonna stop shaming in the
1,
bow
2,
tie.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You want to play?
Yes.
19. All right. I have to not play.
Okay.
So we're gonna have one group of 9 and one group of 10. I challenge you to, if you don't know each other, try and make some new friends. I challenge you to try and make some new friends.
Try. We're cool, Alex.
All I need is one group of 2 groups of 9 and then
right now.
join one this is it's kind of comfortably in the middle of y'all. Y'all have it just says okay.
I was just letting you know before you start your
As possible.
Some of us have extra.
That is okay. The number does not matter as long as all of the cards are past act. Okay, I have here for you a series of queens. Because not that much. The land has been in turmoil for as long as any of you have been alive. The Queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power. The Queen has chosen all of you and no one else to be her retinue, that's like entourage, and accompany her on this journey. She chose you because she knows that you love her. Talk about it. Okay.
You learn something about people.
Okay. So, if I may, I have here for you some queens.
Oh, yes.
All of them are double-sided except for this one. So if you want to send a representative, if you want me to split these and let y'all fight it out. Pick your queen, any queen.
Take a queen, yo.
We're supposed to love her. Okay? So-
No. She knows that you love her. You do not necessarily have to. We'll get there.
I like. Ooh.
You just and they're double-sided too, so you can see.
Oh.
Is it just for fun? It doesn't.
Guys, do we want the Eldritch being or the witch? The witch.
Okay.
Just thinking just like the
Welcome to fixed point number 1. This is fixed point number 1. The Queen has chosen all of you to accompany her on this perilous journey. This is fixed point number 1. Okay.
First cutscene.
That's the rules. Get there in a second. Okay. Yeah. So all of those cards that you have, those are question cards. So you're going to go around the circle and one card at a time, please. Once you have read the rules cards, that's my job. Don't worry about it. Take turns drawing question cards and reading them aloud. So you all have a certain number of cards. Doesn't matter how many. It's just the amount of questions you have. So interpret your card and answer it however you wish. Other players may ask you questions or make suggestions on your turn, but whether you answer those questions or include those suggestions is entirely up to you. Can I have an example card? Can someone just pass me one of their cards? Thank you, Caleb. So for example, what do you do that disappoints the Queen on the journey? Right? This is fun stuff. So, you don't have to answer that now, but that is an example of one of these such questions. Thank you. Okay, that's pretty much how this is going to go for a little bit until fixed point number 2. We'll get there in a sec, but before we get to fixed point number 2, you will notice that in the middle-ish of all y'all, there is the X card. If there is a question that you don't feel comfortable answering, just tap the X card. Put the card down, go to your next one. This is your safety mechanic. If something comes up and you're like, I don't want to include that, whether that's for discomfort level or just, that's weird, or whatever reason, you do not have to explain why. If someone asks that of you, they can get out.
It also might not, like depending on choices you've made, you might get a question that doesn't really make sense compared to your past narrative. And that's why it's okay.
That could be a reason. That can straight up be a reason. Yeah, so basically the X card is your tap out card. So we love a safety mechanic in a collaborative game. Yes.
So, are we answering our own cards?
Yes.
Or, okay.
You can all collaborate on the answer, but whoever holds the card is the one who gets to answer. Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense? Tracks? Okay, incredible.
And what happens after we answer the question? Like, do we put it here?
You can put it wherever you want so that you know you're not going to answer. I would recommend putting it face up on whatever surface you have. And then you go to the next person for ease
Join a group.
of play. We're just going to go this way. So we're going to go clockwise. So if, what's your name, my friend? Rudy. What is your name, my friend? Melody. Melody? Yeah. All right, so yeah, we would go for Ruby and Melody and Chloe and Kale. That is our name. Hello, friend. Would you like to join?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. I just got in here.
That is okay. I can finish explaining these. We have like 1 point left, and then is someone able or willing to explain to our new friend?
Oh yeah.
Incredible. Okay, so that is the point. That is the gameplay. And once everybody has answered all of their questions, I will get somebody to like put up their hand or like make it clear to me that y'all have answered all the questions. And everyone gets the last and final question, fixed point number 2. The queen is under attack. Do you defend her? Exactly. Thus we have the bottom half of the mushroom cloud. And so for that, all y'all have to do is go around and each give your answer. You can decide how that narrative goes. And once a decision and a narrative end has been reached, you can share. And this is effectively going to be our workshop. We have another new friend here. Would you like to play our game? We are playing for the queen.
I don't know what
That is okay. If you would like to play, pick one of the groups, and one of our friends can hopefully be nice and explain it to you, or you can come over here and I can explain. All right. So, with all that said, our queens have been chosen. Our queens have chosen you. Pick your person to start. Let's go.
Yeah, what makes it quick?
Her hair looks silky and flowy.
She's absolutely I'm telling you, Pantene, and then essentially a 10-step hair care routine as well too. Does that get the mad? That's why we are only getting a green star because she used it all up on her hair care. Oh my. Alright, what question you got now?
Oh, you're gonna like throw hearts.
What do you do for the queen that anyone else could? Sorry. What do you do for the queen that anyone else could, and why does she make you do it?
Books.
God damn. Loki, like her little gestures. I'm the best at it.
Jingles.
You make her laugh.
Alright, time to give myself something to do.
You're the one that hates the queen.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
I don't know.
Do you want it to happen again? I'm thinking here. She made me feel powerful.
Whoa. Okay.
So you're defending her then?
Potentially. We'll see how it develops.
Oh shit. It's been all really dark around.
Wait a minute, green?
Green. It's a motif. I'll put some green going on here.
Oh wow. There's a rumor about me and the queen back at the royal court.
Ooh.
What were you doing?
Did you touch this?
What is this rumor though? Are you the traitor?
I was just invited to a soiree, and then because I'm a klutz, I spilled my glass of wine and it kind of like splashed over. And it was rumored that we were having like a whole like rivalry, and that I hated the queen.
Wait, what happened? What happened to you?
That's all you need to know.
Kyle, come on.
I like how he didn't say anything. We all
know.
No, I don't have to say anything.
His cards have a theme.
Yeah. Okay, so then you can do your other card.
Okay, cool. What the hell is that? You sometimes think of one member of the red team as an instinct, and who and what makes you think this? That one, because
I guess I do it openly. Just like,
Not
sure.
necessarily, we just all know.
like we all just know it's like your favorite.
Our queen is under attack. Do you defend her? Everyone go around, say your answer, and figure out what the hell happens to your queen.
Yes, unless I get a better offer. Yes, I do, but not for the queen, for the other of my household.
Yes?
Yes, for him. We're gonna say.
No, because I want to go home to my wife, man.
Do you mind it being so obvious? Yes.
We didn't clap for that.
I don't move towards her, but anyone that comes within range of my sword, I strike down.
So you defend yourself.
I defend myself.
Selfish.
It's kind of ironic because the two people that got the cards that said they arranged the assassination of the queen, she has not
She ran over.
Yeah, she ran over right instead. She's literally everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We lost two people who were supposed to.
No, they're absent right now.
I think we already know the answer though, since they arranged the ambush.
They're absent right now because they're busy.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take the other thing. They decided to just run away and hide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Honestly, this seems uncharacteristic of them.
Yeah.
I wonder if they might have maybe made the assassination attempt.
Oh, they both did actually. They literally both did actually.
Yeah, they both left off.
The assassination.
I like how none of us did it.
The shadows of the darkness well seen. Nathaniel. Oh, it's him! And you found out! It's the evil king.
I'm the evil king?
Nathaniel Alexander Sequeira is the third.
What did I do?
You have the Chronicle. It is the force that
We were just minding our own business, and then there's the queen. The queen's just like, oh no, it's the evil king. What do we do now? And then the queen looks to Casper. What's your move?
I defend her.
You stand up, and you stand in front of the queen, and you look at Nathan in the eyes. Then the queen looks to Ruby. What is your move?
Yeah.
F2.
I guess, why not? I'll defend her.
Why not?
I'll defend her as well.
Yeah.
Two more people stand up. There's still more people. That's why. Can you go to defend?
I will defend her.
I can get you a concussion.
Different kinds of.
Just so we can shuffle them, so when we do the next round,
Yes,
they're not on the
And then
same
one
part.
person is maybe up top.
Thank you. Continue.
No defend.
But I mean, you're like the best knight in the kingdom.
Walk through my hands. I can't. If you walk away, I can't do it. The queen turns to you two now. What do you do?
I'm an opportunist. I think I can tell my last to the king.
I'll show you both sides of it. That's a businessman right there. I think they're the X card.
I would defend her with my life.
You're her loyal.
Oh my God. Oh, maybe that's why I found it. Well, the queen looks towards me though. I look at her with an angry face as well too. I'm not very happy. But I'm just like, you know what? If I'm gonna get my answers, we gotta survive this first. So then I stand in front of her as well. And look at me and be like, it's time to go, bro. It's time to fight, bro.
Bro exists in medieval times.
Yes. And we invented it.
So does drunk driving.
Yeah, famously.
No, in medieval times it would be
Yield, brother.
Yield!
Yield!
Nathaniel Alexander Sequeira, the third senior. Yield! Please! Just yield!
No, I'm gonna run you down.
Hey, there's enough drunk driving here.
Hey, it's not drunk driving at this time, it's normal driving.
No shit.
Wine is just part of my daily diet.
And then finally, the queen turns to the final three. Do you choose to defend? Pay me my damn dues! Give me my gold!
Play football, play basketball.
This is a bigger issue than the last time I said it. But maybe I should chip in. I continue contemplating until it's too late.
I switched sides. Just like,
And then the queen just randomly blows up while you're in the
I'm just sitting on the side, just.
Do I jump in?
Do I jump in? And then everybody's already fighting.
I already saved her once. I know I could probably do it again, but this is much larger than the last time.
Hey man, the Cardinals got something interesting like magic. You read the gossip and all of a sudden it starts smoking. Like,
Give this guy 3 more business days.
What's your verdict?
Ooh, well, I would save her until the last.
It was you! You spoke for the Cardinal Kingdom?
What?
You work for Evil Nathan? Actually, okay, sorry.
This is a surprise to even me.
I'm not working for the comic book. I'm just working as my own person.
Are we still excited to say
We have, yo.
Okay! All right, my friends. Can I see what queen you have? And okay.
Murder queen.
Do we have here's a question. Did y'all name your queens? You did not have to. You did not have to. Sometimes it just happens.
The Queen of Hearts.
This is the Queen of Hearts. What, my friends?
Show me the Queen of Hearts.
This is the Queen of Hearts. What, my friends, is the fate of the Queen of Hearts? She lives. She lives!
Very begrudgingly.
Very begrudgingly. Not for her. Not for her. For others. For others. Oh.
I'm just defending myself. She happens to get dragged into the.
I stole some of her gold and I ran away.
Okay.
I'm her faithful bloodhound.
Okay. Incredible.
2 assassins.
I wrote assassins.
Assassin ran away with gold, faithful bloodhound.
Honorable knight.
Honorable knight. Ah! Beautiful. She lives! Incredible! This is the first time I've run this where she has lived.
Everybody wants like,
Which, speaking of, may I see your queen? What have we named her if we have named her?
The witch.
The queen! All right. What is the fate of the witch queen?
she lives.
She lives! Incredible! I'm so proud.
The thing is though, there's 3 turncoats and one guy who's just.
No! This is what this is about! What happened?
I didn't help. I turncoat because I didn't get my goddamn pay!
Okay! Does anyone else have moments they would love to share?
She mentioned
I
She took me as a concubine, and I just wanted to go home and see my wife.
Classic.
I saved her once before from a drunk driver who happened to be my dad. But this was a much larger issue. I wasn't sure if I would be able to handle it, so I just sat by the side continuing to contemplate if I should step in and help.
I was a witness to seeing her plow over Ryan's dad, so I'm holding that as blackmail against her.
Incredible!
Also drunk driving.
Incredible! Okay! If you want to go home, you can go home. Or, if you want to stay, we have reshuffled the decks.
Can we have more people?
That's what I was going to
That's
say.
not a terrible idea.
And also, because there are 6 of y'all here and more than 6 of y'all here, I would request a mix and match. If you please, make yourselves into some new groups if you would like to stay and play.
Shuffle.
And then we'll do this once again.
Would you like to say any final words?
Keep gaming. Always be gaming. This is a really good show. You guys are good.